Good evening and welcome to Left, Right and Centre. One more action-packed edition right here on Thursday. Lots of politics happening. We'll get you that story from West Bengal, of course. That's the big story that has dominated the headlines and others as well. But first, what have we packed in for you in the 60-minute presentation on the screen? So there is a attack versus accident debate which is going on in West Bengal and in the national discourse also. This incident that happened, the injury that happened, there is a TMC-BJP war over the Mamata Banerjee injury. Which side are you on? We have been able to gather a lot of information, and on the basis of that, we have collected and put it out in the form of a presentation for you to assess. We're not going to sit in judgment. You assess whether this was an attack or was this an accident. So you decide. Right? Attack versus accident debate is going to come up right here on this show. Story number 2, which we are also going to track, and this is very, very important, ladies and gentlemen, despite the vaccines, cases, coronavirus cases are on the rise. Remember, the virus is still out there. Vaccination is happening. There's been a dip in the vaccination process also. But corona cases are rising. Not just in Maharashtra, it is happening in Delhi and other places also. But, ladies and gentlemen, this state right here, Maharashtra, is the crucial one. It is still the biggest challenge that is being faced in this country. The state is facing the biggest challenge. You've got the Chief Minister who has decided to impose a lockdown in Nagpur and will be extended in other parts also. Lots of restrictions in other cities also of Maharashtra. What really should be the action plan from here on? That is something which we are going to discuss with top doctors as well as experts. But let's begin first by making you watch a video. Now, people are saying this video, lots of videos are doing the rounds on social media, but we are not going to rely on social media videos to be able to settle this attack versus accident debate. We will not do that. We have sourced a video from credible sources, and we are going to look at the video and maybe leave this to your better judgment of whether this could have been that moment of the incident where Mamata Banerjee got injured, where she claims that she was attacked, whereas the BJP claims this was an accident. So let's quickly show you that video. It's right here. I'm going to play this video. Just one moment. Learning new technology, ladies and gentlemen. That's the video. You can see that this is the moment where Mamata Banerjee is in her car. This is the Buralia Bazaar in Nandigram. She's crossing this area. You can see a cop right here. That's her personal security right here. She's seated inside, as you can see right here. That's Mamata Banerjee. Right? Let's move on this video to give you more details. So you can see that this is the moment where she is surrounded by a lot of people. The door opens. You can see that she is right here, standing outside. That's Mamata Banerjee for you, if you cannot see in this video. Lots of people right here lined up, as you can see. Some of them filming also. You can see a mobile phone here, a mobile phone here, a mobile phone here. Lots of people filming this incident. So if the police wants, if the Election Commission wants, they can actually ask for proof from all these people, what exactly happened. That's what happens with VIPs when they move. A lot of people lift up their camera, phone camera, right? So she's outside of her SUV, waving to people, saying namaste, and so far it does not appear that something has gone wrong. Let's continue playing this video. So you can see that now she says namaste, and then while she is saying namaste, she is moving forward. Could this have been that point? Somewhere around this point, when you can see this is a busy road, Mamata Banerjee's motorcade is moving forward. Could this somewhere between this point and maybe this point, right here, could this have been the point where this accident / attack happened? That is most important. I think we cannot be better judges of this. the Election Commission will have to be, because they're the nodal agency, the police reports in to them, so they will be in a better, much better position to be able to ascertain. Again, remember, the two key words today are just this: attack and accident. We'll get you more facts so that you can ascertain which side are you on. Let the assessment be factual. That's the only appeal right here on NDTV. Some breaking news that is coming in at this moment. The poll panel has slammed the Trinamool Congress. They say that the Trinamool memorandum is full of insinuations. This is a strongly worded letter from the Election Commission back to the Trinamool Congress. Remember, TMC had approached, they had moved the Election Commission asking them to investigate. The EC says incorrect to suggest that the Election Commission has taken over law and order. Memo tantamounts to undermine the fabric of the Constitution. This is what the EC is saying. Memo questions the basis of the creation and function of the EC. Memo over here means the memorandum that was submitted by the Trinamool Congress. Let's now quickly take a look at the events of today.
আমি অনুরোধ করব আমার সকলের কাছে যে সকলে শান্ত থাকুন, সংযত থাকুন, ভালো থাকুন, আর আমি আশা করি 2-3 দিনের মধ্যে আমি আবার নিজের ফিল্ডে ফিরে যেতে পারবো। আমার মিটিং আমি কিছুই নষ্ট করব না, বাট হয়তো আমাকে কিছুদিন হুইল চেয়ারে করতে হবে, সেটা আপনাদের সহযোগিতা চাইব।
A call for calm by Mamata Banerjee to Trinamool workers out on the streets protesting the incident at Nandigram yesterday. She has also promised to be back at work soon. Yesterday she had said at Nandigram that 4 to 5 men had attacked her, that it was a conspiracy or sajish, and that it was an intentional attack. Today, no mention of that. And the BJP claims the Trinamool chief has now toned down her charge because she knows it won't stand scrutiny.
Really been assaulted by someone, of course we would be concerned about it. But you can see the kind of facts that are coming out. Nobody seems to have seen the attackers, and there are all kinds of contrary eyewitness statements coming out.
But the Trinamool is far from backtracking. They have written to the Election Commission accusing the BJP of conspiracy to kill Mamata Banerjee, a brazen attempt on her life. They have said
hard questions have to be answered, and those responsible for this heinous incident need to be brought to book.
There is more. 12 Trinamool MPs will meet the Election Commission at 12:30 in Delhi tomorrow, demanding a probe into the incident. And one of the things they will try debunk is the theory that the door of the Chief Minister's car accidentally hit some pillars on the road, which slammed the door against her, causing injury.
4-5 people forcibly closed the door, and that's when she got badly hurt.
But the BJP is not letting go of their claim that it was all stage managed. They too have demanded that the Election Commission probe the incident and expose the truth. Mamata Banerjee lying in a hospital bed, looking frail, looking pale, is a powerful image in this election season, and both the Trinamool Congress and the BJP know it. As these two rivals fight it out for Bengal, the danger is Election Commission may get caught in the middle of it. With Anirudh Tripathi, Mamata Banerjee, NDTV.
Let me quickly introduce all our guests. Chandrakumar Bose, former Vice President and Senior Leader, BJP West Bengal. We've got Professor Manojit Mondal, TMC supporter. Shivajit Bagchi is a senior journalist. Thank you very much, Shivajit. And Abhishek Banerjee, spokesperson of the Congress Party. Thank you very much, gentlemen. I would like to begin with you, Mr. Mondal, Professor Mondal.
Yes.
The Election Commission has written back just now to the Trinamool Congress saying that your memorandum is full of insinuation. Now, if the Election Commission says this, would you go beyond just calling them an ally of the centre or ally of the BJP?
Election Commission of India was totally admonished by the Court of Calcutta High Court today for rejecting one of our nominations. So we are not saying that. The Court of Law has rejected their appeal when they actually sort of rejected one of our nominations in Purulia district, Jaipur. So that's fact number one. Election Commission of India in 2019, in the month of May, when that incident took place during Mr. Amit Shah's rally, probably in few square meter area, totally banned campaigning for the rest of all the constituencies in Bengal without any rhyme and reason. So we can understand what the Election Commission is doing, but the fact remains that we are not really blaming the Election Commission. They must take responsibility for what happened yesterday, because the law and order is now handled by them. We talk about all the theories, they are not asking any questions. You are putting up witnesses, eyewitness. I'm not obviously saying that it's you, but other media putting up eyewitness, saying that they are neutral eyewitness. I have pictures of one particular person, if you can see that. This person is lunching with Mr. Shubhendu Adhikari along with his father, Bablu Das and Deep Shankar Das. Again, another picture.
Oh no, so what is your allegation? Professor Mandal, you are saying that all those people who have been presented as eyewitnesses are BJP supporters. Yes. That's the allegation?
I'm giving you the documentary evidences.
Okay, documentary evidence, video proof that is being presented by Professor Manojit Mandal, Chandrakumar Bose.
Hang on. I'm not. So you are believing in the eyewitnesses account. You are not believing in the victim's account. That is my humble submission.
Okay. A very powerful allegation that has been made by Professor Mandal. Chandrakumar Bose, would you like to respond? Because it seems that the entire argument that the BJP has mounted has been on the basis of some footage and a lot of eyewitness accounts. Since yesterday, I have been seeing that a lot of these eyewitness accounts have been presented as proof by the Bharatiya Janata Party that this is at best an accident and it is not an attack. Now, Professor Mandal says that I have proof. These could be possibly BJP supporters.
First of all, I wish the Honorable Chief Minister, Srimati Mamata Banerjee, a speedy recovery. Ours is a political fight, but we wish her well. She should recover fast and...
Oh, we seem to have lost that video connection. We're going to come back. On Chandra Bose in just a short moment. But yeah, Chandra Bose, I believe, is back with us. Yes, Mr. Bose, we lost you for a brief moment. You were saying.
Sorry. Okay. Now, I wish Mamata Banerjee a speedy recovery. You see, our fight is a political fight, but we wish her well. And I hope she recovers and resumes the election campaign. Now, as far as the political statements coming from various political parties, I think they are all politically motivated. I think we need to take a neutral stand because Mamata Banerjee is our chief minister. She may belong to the Trinamool Congress, but she is our chief minister. And this unfortunate incident, I think, should be condemned across all political parties. Now, as far as the evidence is concerned, we have not yet done a detailed investigation as to what exactly happened yesterday in Nandigram. Now, whether it was an accidental injury, whether people pushed her when she was getting into a car or standing on the footboard of a car is to be probed. It is not for us to make any statement as of now because we don't have the conclusive evidence to make the statements. Now, what I fail to understand, you see, Mamata Banerjee is the chief minister. She has Z+ category security around her, which consists of a 3-tier security ring. So first of all, who are these people that they could approach Mamata Banerjee near her car, and if they push
see, the footage, one moment, Mr. Bose. Mr. Bose, we have heard this through the day. My point is now we can see, we have footage from this Nandigram market and we can with great satisfaction say that somewhere around this place could have been that moment where this accident/attack happened, right? In this footage you can see, as is the case with all VIPs and all leaders, there is a huge, like a sea of supporters around her. and people are very, very close to her, and there is her personal security also. So when she's saying that there were a lot of people around there, she's not lying. We can see in this footage. This is footage from that market, right? So for you to say that, you know, how were people allowed to come that close? Well, we can see they are close.
Yes, you see, Mamata Banerjee has stated what she had to say. But the point is, 24 hours have passed. Why no statement from the security and the police have come? You see, political parties and activists should not make any statements without corroborative evidence.
No,
there is not a shred of evidence to establish this way or the other way.
That's my other question. Shubhajit Bagchi, as well as Abhishek Banerjee, that's my other question. Mr. Bagchi, do you feel the fact that the police has still now not explained in great detail as to what happened at that point is the real matter of concern? I mean, you know, there will be different political parties. One will say what will suit their agenda. The other will say what suits their agenda. One expects from the investigating agencies to give the facts, the truth.
Yeah, see, there are two parts to it. One is, yes, the police, the Election Commission, I think, sought a report which has to be submitted by tomorrow evening or afternoon. And so they'll have to send that report to the Election Commission. So that has to be done within a span of 48 hours, as far as I understand. You know, the other part, and that is there in your question, that, you know, there are watchdog bodies in the country, in the state and the center. Now, for last 6 months to 1 year, West Bengal has been seeing all forms of violence. And the leaders of both the parties are continuously attacking each other. In the television studios, they're threatening each other in Bengali television channels. They are saying that they will chop off the head, chop off the limbs, things like that. Yeah. And this has been going on. Now, you can understand when the leaders continue to do that for a period of time, how it snowballs at the grassroots level. What happens to the cadres and the workers, how they get excited during election time. Now, where are the watchdog bodies in this country? We used to comment on Pakistan, that these used to happen in Pakistan. And now there is the head of a government who has been attacked, and there is something severely rotten in the state of Bengal and state of India. I mean, these watchdog bodies are nowhere to be seen. No one
I think that's a very important point.
No one ever told these leaders that, what are you saying? You are threatening the other person. I heard a Trinamool gentleman, important leader, saying something on the other day. I think there's a BJP leader now said that he's going to give 11 lakh rupees if somebody can chop off the head of Ms. Banerjee. This has been going on for
I don't think these comments must be repeated also. Yes, and certainly must not be shown, because they are absolutely preposterous. I agree with you, Mr. Bagchi. Yeah, but you're making an important point. Let me quickly go to Abhishek Banerjee.
This has been going on for last 6 months to 1 year. And where are the watchdog bodies? Because today in the center of the state, we know the watchdog bodies report to their political masters.
Sure. Abhishek Banerjee, I want to come to you now. You know, I'm really intrigued and surprised, and I wonder, what is the position of your political party? Because here is a situation, fine, you can accuse the BJP's Narendra Modi and Amit Shah and JP Nadda not speaking, and them saying, well, when JP Nadda was attacked, look at how what Mamata said. She never, was expressed concern. But as far as the Congress party is concerned, on one end of the spectrum, you have people concerned for Mamata Banerjee. On the other end of the spectrum, you have Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary, who's calling this drama. And we have still not heard from Sonia Gandhi or Rahul Gandhi, not even wishing a speedy recovery.
Okay, so let me answer you this one by one. So there was an official statement that has been issued by AICC that, like all human beings, even if she belongs to BJP, we would have done the same gratitude, that we first and foremost, we want her speedy recovery, and there is no doubt in it. We want our chief minister to be fit and cured, and there should not be any incident. Simultaneously, we just want to question the police minister of the state as well, because even if now the law and order is not in the aim of affairs of the state per se, but we know organized workforce has not been coming from the march for this now. this is the same organized workforce. So if there is any lapse, that lapse has to be answered by the culture or the working culture of the state, which has been imbibed. That's number one. And number two, the most important part, here I just want to question both BJP and TMC. What they want to say. If they want to say this is a staged effect, then our question is, Nandigram, if it has to be staged, it has to be staged by the TMC, and this accusation is coming from BJP. And who is the BJP poster boy now? Who is Shubhendu Adhikari? So the point is that they know better that whether it is a staged or actually the clear thing.
Okay.
Because they belong to the same boat brothers. They are the same boat brothers.
Okay.
So our point is very
interesting. Insinuations was the word that was used by the Election Commission. He is that person's B team, this person is that person's C team, and amid this A, B and C and D, I don't know where decency has vanished. But thank you very much. That's all the time I have. I want to thank Chandrakumar Bose, Professor Mandal, Shubhajit Bagchi as well as Abhishek Banerjee for joining us in this debate. I would now like to welcome TMC MP Derek O'Brien, who's now with us. Mr. Derek O'Brien, first of all, what have you learned? What update can you give us about the health of Chief Minister Mamata Banerjee?
Mr. Upadhyay, the medical bulletin for the day has been put out by the doctors. It's the same bulletin which has been sent to the media. So her ankle is in a plast. Her ankle is in a plast. The good news in all this is that all those, I'm not a doctor so I don't know, but all the MRIs and all the brain neuro scans etc. were done. That's all clear. So that's the good news. Her ankle is in a plast. She's in tremendous pain. As it is, she's a small eater, so she never does too much of eating, but she's in a lot of pain, and she's been taken out twice today from her room on a stretcher for the tests in two of the adjoining buildings. She is just behind me here in the Woodburn ward. But you said something at the end of the program, rather at the end of the discussion. You mentioned something about grace and courtesy and that kind of thing. But I want to use this opportunity, Mr. Upadhyay, not to get into the politics, but to thank everyone, everybody across leaders of political parties, obviously our workers. We had to put out a message this morning because you can imagine, thankfully it's been peaceful now, but obviously there was a lot of emotion. There was a lot of emotion when those pictures went out, and it's not possible to control that kind of emotion. So it's all is calm. So that message was put out. We originally thought we'd put the message, or one of us would put out the message, and when we told the Chief Minister that, she thought no, she herself put out that message. So we want to thank everybody, and we want to thank large sections of the media who've been, I say large sections of the media have been quite very responsible in the reportage. And even somebody who politically completely disagrees with us. For the last 10 years we have not found any common ground. But Mr. Naveen Patnaik, it was so gracious and courteous and decent of Mr. Naveen Patnaik to send out a message. Obviously, Akhilesh ji did, and Tejas, everyone did that.
Derek O'Brien, you know, there will be a question of a lot of people who have been conspicuous by their silence also, including Rahul Gandhi, Sonia Gandhi. Mr. Adhir Ranjan Chaudhary has taken an absolutely contrarian position. And then, of course, the silence of Narendra Modi and Amit Shah.
No, I'm not getting into... No. The other people, the first three names you mentioned, since you mentioned the Mrs. Gandhi and Mr. Gandhi, Mrs. Sonia Gandhi and Mr. Rahul Gandhi, you're not privy, nor am I maybe, to some personal message being sent. But the Home Minister of the country and the Prime Minister of the country, I'm no one to give them any advice as to whether they should wish a sitting Chief Minister of India. Yes, she's the lady Chief Minister, but that's secondary. She's the Chief Minister of India. Whether they will wish her a speedy recovery or don't wish her a speedy recovery, that's not me as a
Derek, what do you have to say about the
humble
Election
MP
Commission?
from Bengal to tell them
The
what
Election
to do or
Commission
not
has
to
now spoken, Derek O'Brien. Election Commission says that your memorandum is full of insinuation. This is the same memorandum that you had presented.
Yes. So tomorrow we are flying to Delhi. There are 6 MPs who are flying to Delhi tomorrow. And there we have a sequence of events which we will present. But that apart, what is the insinuation when, and number 2, the ADG of police is removed and replaced by somebody else. Apparently 3 names were given and the somebody else who replaced him was one of the 3 names. Who is in charge now of is it President's rule in Bengal? Not when I last checked. Has Bengal become a union territory? Not yet. So who is in charge of this entire police force in Bengal, where you saw the pictures? Then somebody so the Election Commission is a very honorable body. But I have to put this on record that we have to stand up today to protect the great institutions of India, be it Parliament, be it the RBI, be it the Election Commission. We need to introspect. You know, in this hurly-burly of election politics, if everything, and I'm not even talking about the Supreme Court, I don't want to go there.
Sure.
But we need to, as people in public life, introspect. This is what happened last night. This is what happened last night. 2 senior leaders from political parties go and say, oh, this is a stage drama. Nothing has happened to her. Please come. What are we going to show you? We're not going to put out those reports to say, you know, here it is. No. So I think, Mr. Upadhyay, it's a much bigger picture.
Sure.
Elections will come. Elections will go. But what kind of legacy are we leaving behind for our children and our children's children? I think at moments like this, when you are in a hospital bed sitting outside in a lounge, seeing a lady who's always in complete control of whatever she does, whatever she thinks.
You know, I asked this question of many leaders of the BJP and they said, what sort of a legacy is Mamata Banerjee leaving behind when she made fun of JP Nadda when he kept coming into Bengal? So, you know, this debate on decency is something which must be had. And I guess the sooner we go ahead and realize this, the better.
Since you brought up this issue of a particular surname, if you are comparing that with what I am talking about, you know, those injuries, when a 5 medical team of doctors is there, those are grievous injuries. It's another matter knowing Mamata Di, she will fight back. She's already trying to hint to us. I can almost pick up the sense that, you know, I don't want to be lying around here for 1 week. I want to get back, even if it's on a wheelchair. I need to campaign. But that is her. That is, you know, that is how this lady, this is what makes Mamata Banerjee. But I think it's in a bigger stage. And, you know, this even talks about, even in Central Hall, MPs have stopped talking to each other. One party will not talk because in case their boss sees them or the 2 bosses they have, if they see them, they'll get into trouble. We need to get out of this. We need to get out of this. There has to be. And I want to tell you today, there are 1 or 2 MPs today from different political parties who came privately, sat with us in the lounge. I think that's good. It's good. But to even suggest that this was all one drama, here is somebody is in the middle of an election campaign. She wants to hop around. And I was saying, if you're saying there's a drama, then somebody put out a theory saying, you know, the car was parked here. The pictures of those cars are now circulating. One more last point, if I just
lots of people are going to say lots of things.
Very responsible.
But my point is, I think we should wait for the investigation to be completed. I've completely run out of time, Mr. Derek O'Brien. But once you come to Delhi,
one more thing.
We'll have a conversation with you. But thank you so much for joining us right here. Stopping for a short break at this moment. Remember the other big story. And unfortunately, people are not talking much about it. COVID cases are on the rise again. Vaccinations, after reaching a peak, have come down. I don't know why. This is a great matter of concern, and the state in question is Maharashtra, which is still the biggest challenge. That debate, that discussion, up next.
अपोलो की एक्सपर्टीज पाने के लिए डाउनलोड द अपोलो 24/7 ऐप. अपोलो 24/7. Expertise is for everyone.
Welcome back. So Maharashtra, a matter of concern, and cases, why just Maharashtra, all over the country have seen an increase. This at a time when vaccination has already begun. How big a matter of concern this is. We have with us two extremely important guests, Dr. Randeep Guleria, Director of the All India Institute of Medical Sciences, and Dr. Shashank Joshi, member of the COVID Task Force in Maharashtra. Dr. Guleria, I want to begin with you first. It's not just Maharashtra. Even in Delhi now we see that cases are on the rise. Vaccination, surprisingly, after seeing a massive rise, for the past 2 days have seen a dip. Now, should this be read in isolation, or is this a cause of concern already for you?
So I think it is a cause of concern because the number of cases are on the rise, and we should act right now aggressively before we have a huge number of cases, a tsunami of cases, if I put it that way, and a huge spike. And therefore, we need to act on multiple fronts, 3 or 4 fronts. First is COVID appropriate behavior. Many people feel that COVID is over and we don't need to do anything now. This is actually creating a huge problem, and therefore we need to be aggressive to see that we implement COVID appropriate behavior, whether it is wearing a mask, whether it's physical distancing, whether it's avoiding crowded places, because all of these crowded places can become super spreading events. The second is to really push the vaccination drive, especially in those areas where we're seeing increasing number of cases. Because vaccination itself will give some degree of immunity and protect people from getting the infection and thereby increasing the number of cases. And thirdly, I think we need to go back to what we were doing in the past, aggressive testing, tracking, isolating people. If we don't have that many cases, so we can, all those who are positive, we can aggressively test, track all of those close contacts of those positive cases, isolate them, make sure that they don't spread the disease and break the chain of transmission. This is the time where we need to work aggressively so that we are able to contain this rather than having a huge number of cases and then having a panic reaction.
Correct, correct. Now, Dr. Joshi, just taking off from what Dr. Guleria mentioned, that in these cases, vaccinations must be increased, particularly in areas where we are seeing an increase. Do you think that the time is now right for Maharashtra asking for a greater dose of vaccines? Maybe not just follow this 60+ rule. Maybe you can coordinate and ask for vaccinations to be open for all. Because we've seen right from the very beginning, Maharashtra has seen an extremely, enormously high amount of cases, even now.
Sanket, I think there are 3 things in this. Number 1 is that we must vaccinate what is recommended in the eligible group as early as possible. So what we have asked is to open the vaccination 24/7 and try to finish off the current group of more than 60 and between 45 and 60 as early as possible. We need to finish this first because this is the most vulnerable to death. So I think that is the first thing. After that, probably we need to ask the second step. Secondly, we have also asked from the central to vaccinate people who are home and who can't move out to be home vaccinated with Covaxin, because that is probably safer. The third thing is we are seeing 3 Maharashtras. One is the Vidarbha and the Marathwada region, which is a cluster where probably there has been a very rapid spread of a low exposed population, and there probably the clustering is much higher, and that low exposed population is something which is a cause of worry. Potentially a new strain could be there. We need to investigate and get data from Center on Genomic Testing. As far as Mumbai MMR is concerned, we are seeing, as Dr. Guleria rightly said, a total lack of respect of COVID appropriate behavior. And I think the Me Responsible campaign which has been launched here, people need to be responsible. You can't be reckless and irresponsible, particularly in restaurants.
But Dr. Joshi, if I were to ask you, see, yes, people have to take this very seriously. You can't be lax about it. See, the virus is still out there. But do you think that lockdowns are going to really be effective? Because you speak to epidemiologists all over the globe, and they say that you can only lock down and reap its benefit once. After that, it's wishful thinking.
So we are not at all for a lockdown. We are only for micro-containment of zones. But if people are just not listening, for example, in restaurants, people are supposed to only have 50% of their capacity. There has to be mindful masking. People are just not following the rules and norms. If they don't follow rules and norms, some stringent disciplinary measures have to be followed. So what Maharashtra is doing is no lockdown. They are basically going for micro containment strategies, which is a standard public health strategies.
Sure.
And we have to go back to our drawing board. We have increased our contact tracing to 1:30. We have to be more aggressive on testing, particularly with RT-PCR.
Okay.
And all those things have to go back to in order. Lockdown is certainly not a solution.
Sure. Dr. Guleria, let me come back to you. Do you think that we, I don't know, I mean, you'll be in a better position to answer this and, study the capability that we had versus the need. Could we not have vaccinated or started the vaccination process, mass vaccination process a little earlier? And now that these cases are on the rise, do you feel that it's important to move to the next phase quickly?
So I think the vaccination process has to go through what we would have done in terms of seeing that we have the capacity to do it, and we've done our trial runs and we're comfortable that we can do it. Secondly, the issue is what are we aiming as far as vaccination is concerned? The first aim is to decrease our mortality, to prevent deaths. And if we need to prevent deaths, then the first thing is to vaccinate those who are in the high risk group. And those are the elderly, those above the age of 60, and those with comorbidities.
Yeah.
Once we can do that, then we move on to the next step where we want to vaccinate a larger group to prevent the spread of infection and break the chain of transmission. But to break the chain of transmission, we can also do that by COVID appropriate behavior, a lot of testing, tracking, and isolation. So we shouldn't look at this in isolation. We should look at this as a combined effort where we try and vaccinate as many as we can. And if we find that we have enough doses available, remember these are 2 doses, that we can even move to the next stage, then we can gradually start vaccinating more and more people depending upon what is available in terms of doses. But I think we need to work in parallel. That is, we look at COVID appropriate behavior, make sure there are no crowds, develop containment zones where there is a cluster developing and make sure that it doesn't spill out to other areas. Testing, tracking has to become as aggressive as it was in the past. So at every front, there has been a little bit of a laxity, which is leading to the surge of cases. We need to nip it right now. Otherwise, it's going to really blow out of proportion as it has happened in Brazil, as in UK and in other parts of the world.
Sure. Dr. Guleria, one more question regarding vaccines, since we are talking about vaccination. AstraZeneca vaccine, which is the same as our Covishield, there is a concern in countries like Iceland, Denmark and Norway that it could possibly be causing blood clots, right? And they have suspended this particular vaccine. What's your reaction to this, and should this be a cause of worry here in India?
So this has been done basically in the 3 countries that you mentioned, and also has been suspended in Austria, based on the fact that there have been 2 patients reported there who had clotting, and 1 death in Denmark and 1 in Austria of an individual who a few days after vaccination developed clotting and a pulmonary embolism. 1 patient is also in the hospital but recovering. The issue is there a cause and effect relationship? Is it a coincidental effect? Now, if you look at the number of people vaccinated in other countries, UK has had a huge number of people who have received AstraZeneca. There has been no red flags as far as clotting is concerned. But there is a concern which the European Medical Agency has raised because of the fact that a few days after vaccination, these, I think the number is around 22 individuals had some clotting, and they want to look at it in terms of whether it's a coincidence or there is a cause and effect. And therefore, for 2 weeks, the vaccination process has been suspended in these countries to really get more data. I think the signal, we need to investigate it, but I don't think it's a cause of concern right now, because there's been huge number of people who've been vaccinated in millions across the world using, and AstraZeneca has been used extensively. We haven't seen any such signals anywhere else. So it could be more of a coincidence rather than actually a cause and effect.
Okay. Dr. Joshi, very quickly, in the short and the long term, particularly the short, because these cases are rising right now, beyond what is being done, would you propose something else, something that can be done, particularly in a state like Maharashtra?
So I think we have to do aggressive public health and micro-containment, and we have to do more contact tracing and probably institutional quarantine of asymptomatic cases. It is the asymptomatic cases, 80% of patients or cases are asymptomatic and they are not staying at home and they are being reckless. So probably in many districts in Maharashtra, we have enforce the policy for institutional quarantine.
No, but then how will you do that, Dr. Joshi? Because, a prerequisite is to have an infrastructure. Are you sure that...
We have infrastructure in place and we have field hospitals still in place and most of them are unoccupied, and that is something which is being done, and that is a short-term strategy which has to be adopted, and many districts in Maharashtra have adopted it, because otherwise what happens is that we have to break the chain, and if you are not able to break the chain, that will be there. Second is 24/7 vaccination in the most vulnerable group. The good silver lining from Maharashtra is recovery is excellent and death and the case fatality rate has come down to 0.5%, and we are reporting lower number of deaths compared to last year. So those are the two good signs.
Yeah, Dr. Guleria, I think this point that Dr. Joshi mentioned is very, very interesting and out of the box. 24/7 vaccination. Because right now we see a rigid system that is followed for good reason, because it helps in tracking each and every individual case. But do you think going forward in the future we can look at a situation where you've got vaccination that goes on 24/7?
Yes, I think that is also being looked at, and I think, if I'm not mistaken, the government has actually approved 24/7 vaccination in the private sector where it is possible to do. In the government sector where you have other patient care and non-COVID activities, they can't run the vaccination program till late in the evening, but may not be able to do it 24/7. But I think it's a good idea that we try and have it 24/7. But I also think we need to reach out to people who are not able to come to the vaccination center. So we may have a large number of elderly who want to get vaccinated, but for various reasons, they may not be tech savvy, they may not know how to reach the center, or they may not have that much of information. It could happen in urban areas, it could happen in rural areas. So we need to reach out to them and develop a strategy of how do we get them vaccinated.
Aggressively pushing the vaccination.
We need to really develop that. We need to develop a strategy for that also.
So you're saying aggressively pushing the vaccination program, because right now, see, the onus is on that individual to go and register and then get vaccinated. So whoever is getting vaccinated right now is a person who wants to get vaccinated.
So if I may put it, there are people who want to get vaccinated but don't know how to go about doing it. So it's can we facilitate it more over and above the app. So suppose we have people in rural India or people who are, let's say, elderly who are homebound and not able to come out. Can we develop a strategy that someone can go and reach out to them and help them coming to the vaccination center, or the vaccine reaches out to them, so that we can get them vaccinated. So that strategy also needs to be developed so that we are able to reach out to more and more people.
Sure. Dr. Joshi wanted to come in very quickly. Yes, Dr. Joshi.
I agree with Dr. Guleria. We have proposed actually a home-based and a mobile van system where people can go and vaccinate the senior citizens, particularly in rural India as well as in urban India, and reach out to them also in the slum population, because some of them are not as tech savvy and they find it very cumbersome. So the most vulnerable group is taken care of, so that we don't lose lives.
Okay. Dr. Guleria as well as Dr. Joshi, thank you very much. Let's just hope that since we have been able to tackle vaccine hesitancy, a lot of people are now coming out and taking the vaccine, we should be able to present this as that Sanjeevani booty to make sure that these cases don't rise again, because a second spike is going to be disastrous. The virus is still out there, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you very much, Dr. Guleria and Dr. Joshi.
Thank you.
Swapnil Parekh, Dr. Parekh and Dr. T.P. Lahane. Dr. Parekh is an internal medicine consultant and author of the coronavirus book, is with us, and Dr. T.P. Lahane is the Director of Medical Education and Research in Maharashtra. Thank you very much. I want to ask you first, Dr. Parekh, how alarming should this situation be treated, particularly in the context of Maharashtra?
Any rise in cases is alarming, not just for Maharashtra, but for the whole country. What's happening in Maharashtra today could well happen in other parts of the country tomorrow. And we have to remember that Maharashtra had a high level of population exposure. Maharashtra had amongst the best testing, tracking. Maharashtra did many things right. And we're still starting to see a rise in cases in areas where there was a high level of seroprevalence. So this is alarming for the entire country. And this pandemic cycle is one that has been marked by exponential denial, exponential growth, exponential decline, exponential fatigue and complacency. exponential denial once again, and then exponential growth. Time and again, round and round we go, doing the same things, pretending it will be different. We know that as we ease restrictions, as people start to have more social contact, the virus will spread from one host to another. This pandemic isn't over, and we need to be very careful.
Dr. Lahane, see, the point is, and we've spoken to a number of experts, see, you can only impose a lockdown once to get or reap the full benefits of a lockdown. That's how lockdowns work. Once you have opened, then going for a re-lockdown has not proven to be extremely effective as a measure. So do you feel that this could not result in the, in the intended result that you want?
See, whenever we consider the scientific, you can say, increase in the number in any epidemic, the second lockdown is not much of the, you can say, the fruitful in that. And here what we are planning in Maharashtra, see, the number of the patients increasing in Maharashtra suggests that it is an epidemic, that virus is growing, and these are the, you can say, the surge that comes ups and down. So in those districts where the number is increasing, some things that is a night curfew or lockdown are imposed. So that is that will give rise to the population, public, that yes, the virus is active, and for that they will have to go for the, you can say, COVID appropriate behavior. That is the three things, that is use of mask and distancing and the sanitization. So I think that is very, very important, because there is a laxity seen in the population, and to, I think, to aware those people that this is required, that some lockdown or some type of, you can say, curfew, so that they will understand, and again they will go to the COVID appropriate behavior.
Now, Dr. Parekh, a lot has been said. See, the vaccines had come in the first week of January. The announcement was made. Then it was subsequently thrown open for the health workers, the frontline workers. Very recently we have seen it has been opened for those who are 60 plus and people who are with comorbidities. The number of vaccinations in this country, instead of going up, has gone down over the past 2 days. Do you feel this is a major cause of worry, that the one way we could have contained any form of spread was faster vaccination?
Absolutely. I think we shouldn't look at just 2 days. We should look at a period of, say, about a week and see how the vaccinations are growing. I think there has been some movement. About a week ago, we were at 1 million doses in 24 hours. We went above 2 million. There's still a long way to go. We need to be between 3 to 5 million doses in 24 hours. We also need to make sure the supply is there, that manufacturers are incentivized to scale up their manufacturing doses to hundreds of millions of doses per month. In fact, when there is a growing epidemic, say in a place in certain parts of the country, we should focus our vaccination efforts in those areas. We've seen in Israel, in UK, that the vaccines actually do bring down transmission at a population level quite well. Of course, other measures are also used, NPIs, so we do have to do it all, but we should focus vaccination in areas where we are seeing growth and start scaling there.
All right, Dr. Swapnil Parekh as well as Dr. Lahane, many thanks for joining us. We're stopping for a short break at this moment. News and updates continue on the other side.